It would have been difficult to deny H.R. Geiger a place in the great hall of computer fame that already contained such luminaries as Douglas Adams, William Gibson and Philip K. Dick. The alien from the now legendary film of the same name was of course Geiger's most famous creation, and it brought him real household name status for a while. But most of Geiger's work would look quite out of place in all but the most eccentric of households, thanks to his uncanny obsession with the gruesome, half biological, half mechanical style that has now become his eerie trademark. Like most art, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and with Geiger's work you either love it or hate it. Either way, it's guaranteed to provoke a response, and Darkseed is no exception. And in true Geiger form, this adventure from US outfit Cyberdreams was a pretty sinister affair. The plot is centred round a chap called Mike Dawson, who's just moved into an old house on a hill. He's gone there for a bit of peace and quiet, so there are no prizes for guessing what happens next. Pretty soon, strange things start happening around the house, and before you know it, you, in the form of Mike, are dragged into a twisted tale of creatures from a parallel time. Needless to say, these creatures are not here to party, and the penalty for misguided adventuring on your part is death, and a grisly one at that. Mike dreams that he's whisked away to an alien world where a grotesque fetus is implanted in his brain, to grow and eventually burst out into our world, where it'll be the Darkseed of the title, the first of a new and frightening race. Scary stuff indeed, and even scarier when he wakes up with a blinding headache in his recently purchased Victorian-style house in Woodland Hills, California. Being a writer, Mike tries to chalk it all up to an overactive imagination, but it quickly becomes evident that this house is quieter than a librarian's convention, and even more suspicious. Why is the house so quiet, and why will no one come inside? Why was the previous owner so keen to sell so quickly? Why hasn't his furniture been delivered yet, and what is the significance of the brooding, archaic mirror that seems to suck the heat out of the living room? All these questions, but as you soon find out, you've only got a limited time to unravel all the answers. The big spoiler for this game was in fact these time and event sensitive puzzles, which can leave you hanging around for a while with nothing to do. You've either got to allow some time to pass before you can get something done, or be in the right place at the right time. For instance, on the second day, you must collect the package from the postman, or else you'll be unable to enter the alien's universe through the cracked mirror. The package contains the missing splinter from the mirror, so if you miss the postie when he rings the bell, that's it. He won't leave it on the doorstep for you to collect later on. The gameplay is that familiar blend of text windows, icon inventories, and point-and-click mouse-driven control that have become the standard game mechanics of the graphic adventure genre. Darkseed is a beautiful game to look at, with the frame-grabbed characters and the high-resolution backgrounds working together so well that the effect was like watching a film that you control, especially back then. There's about 75 locations in the game, with the house taking up a good few, and the eerily quiet town a couple more. When you run into other characters, at the library or shop for instance, you're treated to some of the clearest voice samples I've ever heard in an Amiga game. "Hi Mr. Dawson, your book's just come in. Come round tomorrow, here's my card," that sort of thing.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dawson, but you'll have to pay for that.
It may seem like amiable chit-chat, but it's all bound to be vitally important sooner or later. Maybe. Apart from the occasional dream sequence or morphing baby routine though, there's very little Geiger to be seen. Ah yes, but of course, I've only talked about the real world and barely mentioned the other world, the dark world of the aliens and their fiendish weirdness. This is where Geiger kicks in with a vengeance. Everything turns a delightful shade of, why did I eat that spicy burrito? The effect is stunning, the music goes seriously spooky, and both you and Mike are plunged into a no-holds-barred Geigathon. When you pass into his other world, you discover that it mirrors the real world, with locations and characters matching those in Woodland Hills. Obviously, both worlds have to be explored in order to solve the problems, and although certain actions in the real world can dump you in jail, dumb moves in the dark world tend to end up with you getting your head chewed off. As you play on, you find that this mirroring of locations between the two worlds isn't just a catchy gimmick, but actually an integral part of the game, as objects left in a location in one will appear at the same place in the other, like a very eerie game of hide and seek, if hide and seek involved your life being on the line. Underneath the grisly animations of babies turning into corpses and dangly bits of viscera turning into household items, there's a rather intriguing plot to get to grips with. And it's no worse than your average 15 rated horror film, so it's really not that bad. However, Darkseed can be a bit too serious for its own good. At times, it feels like it's auditioning for a part in a Shakespearean tragedy. A sprinkle of humour here and there, like the get out of jail free card Delbert gives Mike, or that dog having a very public moment with a fire hydrant, could really lighten the mood. Unfortunately, those moments are as rare as a sunny day in Blackpool, and the pervasive gloom can be a real buzzkill. For someone raised on the goofy escapades of Monkey Island, diving into Darkseed felt like jumping into a cold shower. Refreshing, maybe, but mostly just shocking. Try as I might, I couldn't get Mike to overdose on the bottle of aspirins in the bathroom. I suspect this was a case of Cyberdreams worrying too much about what concerned parents might think. If you haven't already played Darkseed before, get it fired up on your Amiga and lose yourself in a world you thought only existed in your worst nightmares. Then, come back and let me know what you thought of it in the comments section. That's if you can get back. Thanks for watching guys, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and definitely consider subscribing to the channel if you're loving the Commodore nostalgia. There's plenty more Amiga games up on the channel playlist, along with a ton of Commodore 64 games too, so I hope you continue with me on this epic journey down memory lane. Stick around, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, bye for now. Thank you to the following Patreons for your continued support, and also those who joined the YouTube membership. You guys really are the lifeblood for the channel, and spur me on to continue making these nostalgic videos. Much love, and thank you once again. Stay retro.